Hey, good day. Welcome to another episode of the Raw Report. I'm your host, Robert Bob TV Brown. How y'all guys doing out there? I mean, it's been a crazy week. And so many stories I can go over. Dealing with the situation in Georgia, dealing with the situation of the EMT worker who were murdered, dealing with the situations of the protesters in Wisconsin, and the lie that all of a sudden the death rates or the positive COVID cases just burst up after all those people had those events at the events at the City Hall. Just a whole bunch of foolishness going on out there. But I want to talk about this foolishness right here. Joe Biden went on Mika's show and said, look, if there's anything concerning me violating somebody's right or any kind of allegation, it would had to be, like, he's the authority and he knows this, it had to be done here at the congressional halls.
The point I'm trying to make is that you are approving and actually calling for a search of the National Archives records of anything pertaining to Tara Reade.
And it had to be put in some files, the National Archives. So if this happened, and if she filed, talking about Tara Reade, a harassment suit or rape violation against me, if she did it, she had no other choice. Like she only had one place to go. How the hell are you gonna tell me I only got one place to go if I need to file some charges on you? That's just one of many places I can go. But according to Joe Biden, she had to file it there. And if it's there, it's in the halls of Congress. So I invite the congressional leadership to, if you see anything, pull it out. Well, you know, Joe Biden knew that, first of all, congressional buddy, the House and the Senate are close ties with Biden. They love Biden more than they love Obama. That's just the way it is. They don't like Obama. The Republicans, they don't like Obama. But the Republicans do like Joe. The Republicans don't like Obama, but they like Joe. Democratic and Republican like Joe. House and Senate like Joe. That's why Joe Biden will be a dangerous person if he gets the nomination, because Trump got one thing he have to battle always against, and that is a so-called opposition Democratic Party. Sometimes they'll do it as smoke and mirrors, but sometimes they will do some opposing, like when it came to the border wall and all that. But with Joe Biden case, man, Joe Biden would have both sides supporting him. There will be no division. There will be no confliction, because they love Joe, especially those white bigots in both parties. Now, going back to this, Joe Biden knew that nothing was going to come out of this if we focus on the congressional archives. He knew that if we focus on, that's why the whole time he was trying to get Mika, why you keep talking about over there? Girl, don't be mentioning that. You're supposed to be helping me.
So personnel records aside, are you certain there was nothing about Tara Reade in those records? And if so,
I am absolutely certain.
Why not approve a search of her name in those records?
Approve a search of her name?
Yes, and reveal anything that might be related to Tara Reade in the University of Delaware records.
There is nothing. They wouldn't. They're not there. And if it's, I don't understand the point you're trying to make.
Your Senate documents at the University of Delaware were supposed to go public, and then they were resealed. The access was changed. I know that you're saying any HR complaints could be in the National Archives, but why not reveal your Senate documents that are being held in Delaware? I know there's 1,800 plus boxes, but if she believes and she alleges that the complaints may be hidden there, why not strive for complete transparency? Why was the access to those documents sealed up when they were supposed to be revealed. But there are claims and concerns and reports in Business Insider, and she claims that possibly a complaint or some sort of record of this might be at the University of Delaware. So, for complete transparency, why not push for the release of any documents with Tara Reade's name on them, whether it's at the University of Delaware or the National Archives?
Stick on the archives. Stick on the archives. Stick on the archives. Like Dave Chappelle said,
I ain't touch that bitch, nigga, I'll kill you. Fuck you, nigga, I'll kill you. Please believe me. Please believe me.
well, this article just came out about the Senate leaders who runs those archives. Secretary of Senate turns down Biden's request for Tara Reade's document search. Now, you knew it. You knew he was going to turn down that request. Joe Biden knew he was going to turn down it. Joe Biden was hoping that they turn it down. The former vice president initially said Reade complaint, if it exists, would be housed only at the National Archives. Who are you to tell me where my complaint against you is going to be held at? You don't know who I complained to. You don't know where I complained to. You don't know that. You don't know nothing about that. So how you going to tell me the only place I could have complained against you is the National Archives, the halls of Congress? Well, since you work there, if somebody on the job violated her rights or violated her space, then she have to go talk to HR there. No, that's one person I can talk to. I can go to Capitol Police. I can go to the FBI. I can go anywhere I want to and put a complaint. I can go to a Virginia Sheriff Office. You don't tell me who the hell I get to go make my complaint with. And you ain't gonna know who I make my complaint with until they serve you the warrant or serve you the notice. So that's why he was trying to get Mika to get off this Delaware, University of Delaware vice presidential files, because it's so much stuff in those files.
The first is about your University of Delaware records. Do you agree with the reporting that those records were supposed to be revealed to the public and then they were resealed for a longer period of time until after you leave, quote, public life? And if you agree with that, if that's what happened, why did that happen?
Because, look, the fact is that there's a lot of things of speeches I've made, positions I've taken, interviews that I did overseas with people, all of those things relating to my job. And the idea that they would all be made public, in the fact while I was running for public office, they could be really taken out of context. The papers are position papers, and all of that to be fodder in a campaign at this time. I don't know of anybody who's done anything like that.
That it could be in there. So he had to deflect her off those files and stay on the National Archives. What bumbling fool would file a complaint against you so it could be put in the National Archives? It's called a deflection, folks, but let's keep reading this. The Secretary of the Senate said Monday that the chamber has no discretion to disclose information sought by former Vice President Joe Biden regarding the allegation of sexual assault against him. Furthermore, complicating the presumptive Democratic presidential nominee's search for exoneration. You bet it did. But this was by design. You don't think Joe Biden knew that they were going to deny him the opportunity to look into the archives, or deny her the opportunity to look into the archives? He knew that. These guys are his buddies. He's been knowing these people for 20, 30, 40 years. They like family to Joe. That's why I said Joe become president, Joe would be able to get more done than Trump by far. But most of the time, according to this record, was never things that got done for working people. Never were things that got done for black people. That's what his record said. Now, Obama, different story, but that's not Joe's record. And even Obama record wasn't all that when it came to working people and black people. But that's not Joe's story. Joe actually developed policies that hurt the black community. Joe policies were pro-Republican policies. Joe is pretty much a Republican. Now, Obama recently said on a podcast that, look here, if you look at my record, and the way I legislate, you would think people would consider me a moderate Republican. Now, if Obama is saying people would consider him a moderate Republican, Joe Biden is extreme Republican. All his policies, 90% of his policies that he's participated in and voted for, or his own personal policies, were pretty much anti-black and pro-Republican. Joe Biden is really a Republican in thought, action, and deed. Just because he got the D behind his name doesn't mean his legislative record doesn't show Republican. But let me get back on this. Biden has been accused of sexual assault by Tara Reade, a former staffer in his Senate office. Reade, who claims Biden, then a U.S. Senator from Delaware, assaulted her in the Senate hallway in '93. The same year he came up with that crime. But let me tell you something, Joe Biden was feeling himself that year. Joe Biden was pushing some hardcore to the brim legislation. And she filed a complaint with the Capitol Personal Office at that time. But who said that's the only place she filed? Biden, in his first direct response to the allegation, said Friday he was not aware of any complaint ever filed against him and called for a record search to see if Reade's exists. If it does, Biden said it should be released. Like I said, he knew this wasn't going to happen. The former vice president initially said Reade complaint, if it exists, would only, like he know, will only be housed. That is a deflection. That is a marker that is designed for you to look nowhere else because he said it, it must be true. No, he's a pathological liar and you'll be a fool to believe him. Just like Trump is a pathological liar, you'll be a fool to believe him. He's trying to keep you focused in one area. He don't want you looking in any area. That's why he was about to lose his cool with Mika on Morning Joe. Why you keep talking? Why you keep going on that talking about the name? Who does that search? Why you keep bringing that up, girl? All right. In a response, the former vice president initially said Reade's complaint, if it exists, will be housed in the National Archive, but the research for Biden's record has thus far proved circular. In response to Biden's request on Friday, the archive said it did not possess the record. It did not possess the records the former vice president said it did, and that the documents in question were instead maintained by the Senate. So here's what they said. Joe Biden says the record is there, but the Senate, the National Archives says, look, we don't possess the record. The former vice president said it did, and that the documents in question were instead maintained by the Senate. But Senate rules suggest those documents are maintained by the, get this, General Service Administration, which in turn said the records are at the National Archives. Now let me repeat that again. The National Archives said we don't keep that stuff here. What Joe talking about? Matter of fact, our rules suggest that those documents are maintained by the GSA, the General Service Administration, which in turn, the GSA in turn said the records are in the National Archive. So somebody trying to play cover up here. Somebody is trying to deflect again. Once again, they're playing deflection. I ain't got it. They got it. We ain't got it. Y'all got it. Joe Biden said it only can be over there. Tara Reade saying, you can't tell, you don't know that, man. I tell you where it could be. Go check those files at the University of Delaware. Let's have a polygraph test. You go first, Joe. Prove me wrong. Now, in passing the buck, passing the blame, by late Friday, Biden had written to Secretary of State Julie Adams. I want you to get this. This is the vice president communicating with top legislators. Top cabinet members. Biden had written to Secretary of State Julie Allen requesting that her office take or direct whatever steps are necessary to establish the location of the records of this office. Biden went on to ask if any documents are located, to direct a search for an alleged complaint, and to make public the results of this search. But the confusion around the search continued on Monday when the secretary turned down Biden's request. So in other words, Biden's trying to showboat. He's trying to act like the father who didn't kill his son, or didn't kill his kids, or didn't kill his wife. He wants to participate in the search. Yeah, usually when you want to participate in the search is usually because you are trying to deflect them from where the bodies are really at. That's what Joe is doing here. That is what Joe doing here. Biden went on to ask if any documents are located to direct a search for alleged complaints and to make public the result of the search. In other words, if you get anything, if you find anything, make it public. See, Joe Biden knew he ain't gonna find anything, not in this area. And he have to say that to not look like he's guilty as charged because he's running an election. And the only thing that's causing him to rise in the poll a little bit is Trump being horrible on this freaking pandemic. Now, if Trump was halfway decent on this pandemic, Trump would be beating Joe Biden in a lot of polls, and he is beating Joe Biden in a lot of polls, mainly in the Rust Belts. Based on the law's strict confidential requirement, Section 313 in the Senate-owned direction that disclosure of Senate record is not authorized if prohibited by law. Senate Resolution 474, 96 Congress, Section 3A said, Senate Legal Counsel advised that the Secretary has no discretion to disclose any such information as requested in Vice President Biden's letter on May 1st, the Secretary response says. In other words, Biden has no right to ask us to look at the archives and if we find anything, to show it. He has no right. Joe Biden know he has no right because he know that they can't do this stuff. Joe Biden's no dummy. Well, maybe he is now. Now he's got a little older, but he still got a little wisdom in him. The Biden campaign responded to the Secretary's decision later Monday with 3 questions. If the existence of the record is subject to disclosure, if there's anyone such as Reade who could request the release of the related documents, I want you to hear this. If there's anyone else, such as Ms. Tara Reade, who could request the release of the related documents, if the Senate could release procedures and materials that the Office of Senate Fair Employment Practice followed in 1993 for processing these types of complaints. Biden broke his silence on the allegation last week in the interview with Morning Joe host Mika Brzezinski, doing which he said his old office personnel records aren't among the senatorial papers he sent to the University of Delaware. My office, my old office personnel records are among the senatorial papers he sent to. About what a rape allegation, what a charge has to do with your personnel record. And why wouldn't they be among your senatorial papers? While he called for a search for his office personal record, he refused to commit to open his University of Delaware archives to search for any mention of Reade's or her allegations. So in other words, Joe Biden deflected y'all, deflecting everybody to really find confidence in him because, oh, well, Joe is telling the Senate office to open up the National Archives, and if they see anything, bring it on up. I'm innocent. I'm not guilty. I'm innocent. You can look wherever you want. It's like the guy who's saying, look, go ahead and check my house. You can look wherever you want. Don't realize that the dog that come in the house can sniff out that knife with the blood on it. So you forgot that cops got dogs? You didn't see that dog in the truck? That K9 sign on the car? No, the regular police may not be able to find the knife because they don't have the senses of a dog. But you let that canine come in and you let that canine pick up on the scent, he may pick up the very weapon that you used to kill that person. So that's what's going on right here. Joe Biden knew that they wouldn't be able to find that. And Joe Biden is trying to tell you whether you look into my Senate files or not. There's nothing there. There's nothing there. Well, let us look at the Senate files. Since you said there's nothing there, what, you expect me to just take your word and walk away? If a cop took my word and walk away, what kind of police officer would that be? Nah, man, I ain't shooting nobody. What you talking about? Where were you 2:30 in the morning? Hanging out. Hanging out where? Hanging out. Do you have any alibis? No. But I ain't killed nobody. Really? Really? Keeping such records. On Morning Joe host Mika Brzezinski, during which he said his old office personnel aren't among the senatorial papers he sent to the University of Delaware. That don't mean that somebody could have got that allegation, somebody could have got that documentation and hid it among those 30,000 files, 30,000 folders that he has in the Senate office at the University of Delaware in his personal records. That's why Mika said, well, if you say, okay, fine, you say that if she filed a complaint, it will only be done at the Senate personnel office, and by now it will be in the National Archives. But why you don't believe it will be in the archives at the University of Delaware, your vice presidential record detail? Well, it's not. If she filed a complaint with the city office, it would be in the office personnel. Matter of fact, it would be in the National Archives. The National Archives said, we don't make that decision. Joe can't tell us to do that, and that's not our job. If you find out, it's over here at this other office. And the other office saying, well, it's not here, it's over here. Yet Mika is saying, look, why don't you just allow the authorities to look at your Senate records at the University of Delaware? How about that? Joe did everything he could to try to keep the police from going to the scene of the crime. You know, officers, you're doing whatever you can. You see the officers about to go to that dark room, you know, where it got a little slight stench. You got to do whatever you can to deflect the deflect the police officers, deflect the dog, the whole 9 yards from going toward that area. You're going to have a heart attack. You're going to cry. You're going to do whatever you can, especially when you know you're guilty. Joe Biden is doing everything he can to keep everything on the Senate archives and not everything on his own archives at the University of Delaware. Keeping such record close while a candidate runs for office is standard practice, according to our archivist, familiar with the personal papers of contemporary politicians. In other words, Joe Biden don't want you to know about this stuff, don't want you going nowhere near. Anyway, Joe Biden don't want you to go anywhere near the congressional papers that I got on file in Delaware. Why you keep bringing up Delaware, Mika? Oh, shut that up.
I'm asking why not do the same in the University of Delaware records, which have raised questions because they were supposed to be revealed to the public and then they were sealed for a longer period of time. Why not do it for both sets of records?
Because the material in the University of Delaware has no personnel files, but it does have a lot of confidential conversations that I had with the president about a particular issue, that I had with the heads of state of other places, that would not be something that would be revealed while I was in public office or while I was seeking public office.
I'm just talking about her name, not anybody else in those records. A search for that. Nothing classified with the president or anybody else. I'm just asking, why not do a search for Tara Reade's name in the University of Delaware records?
Look, I mean, who does that search?
The University of Delaware. Perhaps you set up a commission that can do it. I don't know. Whatever is the fairest way to create the most transparency.
No, I'm telling you, Mika, who gets to do that? I can't control who. So who gets to look at that? Well, somebody that's not on your team and somebody that's not on her team, somebody that's not biased should be able to go in, do a full investigation, look at your records and see what they pull up with Tara Reade's name on it. But no, you fear that. You're trying to get everybody over here on the congressional halls and the personnel department there and the National Archives. Joe think he's slick. He knows that in the National Archives, you're not going to see anything about him doing anybody wrong. And you know he has done anything but. Too friendly with kids. I asked the guy today, I said, look, bruh, would you let your kids stay with Joe Biden overnight, Joe and Jill? He took too long to answer. He finally said, yeah. That was a hard, tough, hurting yeah. He no doggone way he wouldn't let his kids stay with Joe Biden. Kissing them all in the mouth, rubbing them on the shoulder, sniffing their hair, all that kind of crazy stuff. You wouldn't even let your wife stay with Joe Biden. This guy's crazy, man. And you black people. Yeah, I'm coming at you. Feel like you got to pick between two bigot, pathological lying, rapists. Racist. Said rapist twice. Whether it's Joe Biden or Donald Trump, I'm in America. I ain't got to pick neither one of these fools. And fooey on me and shame on me to be trying to push the better of, the lesser of the rapist, the lesser of the bigot, the lesser of the liar. These people shouldn't even be in office. They shouldn't be allowed to take that position. I believe that's a God-given position used to do God's work with the right person in that position. But the longer you keep doing this lesser of two evil bull crap, the man that God really needs in there, not that he can't utilize whoever's there anyway, but the person he really needs there can't do his work for the people because of people like this and because of voters like I used to be who keep putting crap like this in office. Him and Trump. Joe Biden doing whatever he can to deflect from this. Joe Biden, I'm going to be one. Whole lot of people going to be one. We ain't going to let you slide with this, bro. You need to step your butt down. You're unfit. Trump is going to have a cakewalk with you because everything you try to throw on him, he going to throw it right back on you with extra doodle sauce on top of it. You can't shame a person who don't mind being shamed if you can shame them. But he's going to try to get you first because that's the New York way. I'm going to knock you out before you knock me out. Joe Biden, no Joe, no Trump. Dump Trump, no Joe. Joe, you need to step down. You really need to step down because this is just beginning.
Mika, it never happened. It never happened. Period. And the facts in this case do not exist. They never happened. And I assure you, it did not happen. Period. Period. It never happened.
I didn't touch that bitch, nigga. I'll kill you. Fuck you, nigga. I'll kill you. Please believe me.